Hey, welcome to the Micheaux Mission, 2 Men, 1 podcast, every black film ever made. My name is Len, aka the Bat Tribble. And as always, I am joined by my partner.
Hey, this is Vincent Williams.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to each and every one of you to this edition of the Micheaux Mission, where we will sit and review from 1994 Drop Squad, starring Vondie Curtis-Hall, Ving, Rhames, Eriq LaSalle, Cassie Lemons. The film that was written, I believe, as I look here at my notes, by David C. Johnson and produced by Spike Lee. Vincent's choice for this stop on the Micheaux Mission.
It is indeed.
Yes. But first, as always, we turn to you and bring you all of the things that are going on in the world. Shout out to each and every one of you out there in the Facebook group: Deborah Battle, Aaron Fry, Robert Monroe Jr., Michael Sykes. I see each and every one of you. Thank you to you, one and all.
Hey, what's going on, folks?
How
how you doing over there, Len? How you doing over there?
I'm fine.
All right.
I'm fine. We start today, usually with listener mail, but today we start our show off, unfortunately, on a sad note.
Yeah.
As we gather together to remember Michael K. Williams.
Yeah.
Indeed, a favorite here on the Micheaux Mission, who passed away just yesterday at the so young 54.
Yeah, 54.
Found dead in his Brooklyn home. Most famously, Michael K. Williams is known for his role as Omar.
Of course.
The Wire.
Oh yeah.
But there are some people who may remember him from his TV series Hap and Leonard, from copious movie roles that he has appeared in, and he was a favorite of HBO.
Yeah. Oh yeah. How about that?
Along with appearing as Omar in The Wire, he also had prominent roles on Boardwalk Empire.
Yes, sir. Chalky White.
Yes, and even more recently on Lovecraft Country.
Yeah.
Also equally deeply departed Lovecraft Country. Vincent, what have you to say of Michael K. Williams?
I have nothing to add that hasn't been said. As you start out, I think Omar is one of the most iconic figures in popular culture, certainly over the last 50 years. You know, if you did a list of pop culture icons, I think Omar comes up as someone who was in a stellar cast.
Oh yeah.
For him to stand out
right
the way that he did. I saw someone write about just how radical Omar was as a loving gay man in the midst of the chaos of The Wire, as someone in a show about criminals.
Yeah.
On both sides of the law. He was more of an outlaw.
Yes.
So certainly you can't say enough about Omar.
A bit of a vigilante, if you will. And again, as much as I love Omar and celebrate Omar, I was a big fan of Chalky White. I was
in Boardwalk Empire, and this man who was just trying to make a way as a black man and as an entrepreneur, frankly, using what little tools were afforded a man of his stature. And just sort of morally nebulous, balancing family life, balancing his business life, balancing just trying to be a black man in the early part of the 20th century. I think Chalky White was an extraordinary character. And then certainly in Lovecraft Country,
Yeah.
which the dearly departed Lovecraft Country, his role. But I will say this. I think everyone who came in contact with him speaks of his kindness and speaks of him as a man. I've mentioned before, Baltimore is a small town.
Yeah.
Baltimore is a very small city, and I've talked before about being in Baltimore during the years that Homicide was being filmed. So that it was like you would always run into people from Homicide just in the city. And I have memories of Yaphet Kotto and Andre Brower in particular, and being real solid dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And I had moved to Philadelphia by the time The Wire started. But similarly, the word from Baltimore was about two cast members. It was, Andre Royo, who played Bubs,
Mm-hmm.
and Michael K. Williams.
Yep.
Like everyone in Baltimore during that period talked about running into Michael K. Williams and how he was just a good dude. So it's just a real shame.
I posted this in our Facebook group. He just recently as February of this year, sat for an interview with Mark Maron on his podcast, WTF, which was a very, very, well, it was a very entertaining, very enlightening, now it's a little sadly poignant interview. But the two of them both, definitely they connected in their battles with addiction over the years. Mark Maron himself speaks very openly about being sober from drugs and alcohol now for over 20 years. And Michael K. Williams is talking in the interview, about how openly he is about, the moments when he had unfortunately did relapse, even at one time during the filming of The Wire.
Sure.
But he also talks about how and what makes it sad is like he sounds like it's a great interview because he doesn't sound sad at all. He talks about how he loves cooking and he watches Rachel Ray every day to learn a new recipe. He was actually cooking while they were interviewing. He had tells Mark hold on, don't hang up. And Mark's like, well, I'm not hanging up. I'm going to be doing it because he has to go turn off the stove. He's cooking.
Sure.
But he talks about that. He actually talks about Andre Royo and about him and he and Michael and Sonia Sun from The Wire as well.
Yes.
And very recently on Star Trek Discovery.
Yes, sir.
About how they want to kind of try and put something together. He talks about his love of theater and plans with someone else about trying to get a traveling theater thing going. And he has all of these plans, and he sounds like a guy who was being very active, being very productive, also because of the demons that he fights and the battles that he has fought. A man that is appreciative of where he is, and even more to the point, appreciative of the day, just like this day.
Sure.
It's a really great interview. I invite you to listen to it. It's really dope. Like I said, I put the link in the Facebook group. I as sad as I was for his passing, just because of what he means to Hollywood in general as an actor, and to see him on screen usually is a sign of someone who's very committed and quality that he's going to bring to whatever role he's doing. Hearing that interview just made me even more wow, he's just a really dope dude.
Sure. And I will say this, obviously we don't know the details of what led to his death, but I don't think it is out of the ordinary or an extreme read to say that this past year has been challenging for all of us.
Yeah.
For all of us. And I would submit to everyone listening that don't discount the collective trauma that we are all dealing with. I think, in my house, we try to be very cognizant of the fact that we are in the midst of challenging times, and don't, just because you're sort of functioning, just because you kind of go day by day and you go to work and however you go to school, be very aware that we are living in times that you have to take care of yourself. You have to, again, be very cognizant of your own mental health and where you are. And folks, if you need to talk to someone, talk to someone.
Yeah.
And it's I suspect years from now, we are all going to look back at this. I'm not going to go down this road too far, but we're starting to get the 20-year anniversary of 9/11 stories. And I think what's fascinating about the little bit that I've read and a little bit that I've seen is this sense of none of us really dealt like we didn't deal with it then. Like that was something that was almost ongoing, and arguably 20 years later, those of us that were old enough to remember still haven't quite worked our way through it. And we're in the midst of that right now.
Yeah.
It's just long. So it's a shame. It's a tragedy, and he'll be missed.
He certainly will.
He'll be missed.
He certainly will. Let's Vincent segue over to listener mail now.
Yes. Missives from the missionaries.
Yes, and we will start with one from Azia Taylor.
Hey, what's up, Azia?
I haven't heard from her for a while. Hi, Len and Vince. If you're doing remixes of old shows, as we talked about last week, you absolutely must include The World, the Flesh, and the Devil.
Oh, why must we remix that?
I thought we actually, because we both sided on we liked it.
Did both of us side on we liked it?
I thought we did.
Oh, I don't know if both of us did. I don't think
I did.
No,
did you not like it?
No, well, what are we in 1984 now? We're at war with Europa. We've always been at war with Europa.
I know. I seriously thought that I enjoyed
No,
I didn't.
This was before the joining of the houses of House Webb and House Belafonte. While there is peace in the land now between these two great houses,
right?
There was a time,
really,
in the era of Micheaux,
then what?
That there was open warfare.
Then what was the movie that turned it around for? Was it Buck and the Preacher?
You really enjoyed Buck and the Preacher.
Maybe
you really enjoyed him in Buck and the Preacher. And I know you circled back and watched it again. And since then, you've talked about.
Okay, maybe.
But at that moment, that's the beauty and the danger of the episodes. We can't talk about that. Like, we're out far enough that you go back and you listen to things, and for every time we say, you should keep an eye on Tiana Parrish.
Right.
This is somebody that is going to be big. There's me saying that Little was going to be the breakout hit of 2019.
Wow, did you say that?
I 100% did. So time tells all tales. I'm always betting on Marseille Martin. So,
that's a safe bet.
Well, that was a wrong bet, though. It was not the breakout.
It
was not the breakout hit of 2019 that I thought it would be.
It's not. If streaming was what it is now, what it then, it would because it would have streamed.
It would have streamed.
It's a movie that,
and then it would have Yeah.
Okay, so I guess maybe we need to do The World, the Flesh, and the Devil, because I don't remember.
Now you don't even remember.
So
So
it'll be interesting.
Right.
I won't even listen to it again until we remix
We
it.
actually had an excruciatingly long conversation about sweat.
Did we? In that?
Yes.
I gotta listen to it.
Yeah, about Harry Belafonte in Sweat.
Real? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you put it all out your mind, didn't you? The North remembers.
It's always me. Anyway, that's the thing. That's the shame of it. It's always me. Azia, she also recommends that it would also be nice to hear a re-review of Get Out without any other contributors. And that might be a good one because as much as I enjoyed our episode reviewing Get Out, but I think it was like 4 or 5 people.
It is, and it is actually one of my favorite episodes.
Really? Yeah.
There's a point in that episode where if you turn the volume up, you can hear me changing my mind. Like you can hear the wheels go off in my mind.
Changing your mind about the movie?
Changing my mind about the movie. And I've said this before. Ariel, our dear friend Ariel Johnson of Amalgam Comics, says something in that episode that we say in my house all the time. So that episode was like, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Ariel talked about black women breathing life into black men's foolishness.
Yes.
Has become part of the lexicon of my house. Whether it's me or my son or someone we know, like something will happen and Wendy will say, what's that Ariel said? How black women always breathing life into black men's foolishness.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, see, but something like that, then it doesn't sound like it. Do we really need to re-review it?
I mean,
if anything, it probably needs to be replayed. Like maybe one day when we
the
take
thing
a week
that
off.
I really like about, in my mind, that episode is the platonic ideal of what you always argue. Like I'm gonna let y'all just see how the sausage is made. If you may have picked up, when we do have guests, 90% of them are women,
right?
And I credit where credit is due. Lynn has said since the first episode, talking about the third cheer, that if we bring in another perspective, it is nice to bring in a perspective that isn't basically male heterosexual dude,
right?
So it's mostly been women.
Mm-hmm.
We try and have some LGBTQ guests when we can, but 90% has been women. And the Get Out episode is a great example of women having a different perspective,
right? That
neither one of us had thought of,
right?
And like I said, during the episode, like they made points where I was like, wow, I thought about it a lot. Like I thought about Get Out a lot, but they had a perspective that we didn't have.
You know what is another episode that has a perspective that we didn't have?
And I can already tell you about to go too far. Like you're about to go too far, and you're gonna put me into a box where I might have to say on the mic, I agree with you, Lynn. But there's a good chance that using telepathy, I'll be saying I don't agree with you. You about to go too far. Like, I can tell you about to go too far. So why don't we just agree, whatever episode you're about to mention, that I'm going to say, I agree with you, Lynn. That was a good episode. But that may not be my thoughts. And why don't we move on to the next letter?
We'll move on to the next letter.
All right.
I'm sorry to do that to you, ladies and gentlemen. That was definitely a private moment between me and Vince that happened right there.
But thank you. I want to say Aziza because that's my cousin's name.
Ahzia. Azia.
Thank you, Azia.
That's how I pronounce that. And thank you. Yes, indeed. All right. Let's see. We also got an email. I thought we got one more email. Curious.
Okay.
And this does pertain to our review tonight.
All right. Who's it from?
It is from Ibn Suleiman.
Oh, hey, Eben.
Eben. Hey guys, I have a simple question I hope you can answer.
Okay.
As I was watching Drop Squad,
Okay.
because there are people that watch the movies along with us, Vince,
I know. It's beautiful.
I noticed they were constantly reading this one comic book to
Oh,
the point
good
that
catch,
it felt
Eben.
purposeful, but I never got a good look to see what is the title. Did you two notice as well? If so, what comic is it they are reading? Thanks.
Lynn.
I did notice.
I know you noticed. I know you caught it. You wouldn't be a good blurred if you didn't.
I did notice.
And what was that comic, Lynn?
They were reading the historic comic book. I guess I always want to say it's from the 80s, but I guess it was the 90s, right?
Was it? I mean, I feel like it may have been the 80s.
I know, it's crazy. It was a Brother Man.
That's right.
Brother Man by Dawood Anyabwile.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that is how you pronounce his name. I hope I got that correct. Brother Man is a historic comic book that how do you describe Brother Man? It's like a cross. It's like the greatest cross between hip hop and superheroes ever. Technically, the book that Dawood did along with his brother Guy Sims is Brother Man, Dictator of Discipline.
Dictator of Discipline.
And it was an oversized comic book.
Published by Big City Comics.
Big City Comics. Oh my God. It was early 90s, 1992. And it definitely was superhero, but satire. And I certainly believe that it was purposeful. Its placement in this film, Drop Squad.
Yeah. That's real deep blurred knowledge right there. That was a real deep blurred drop.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's Brother Man.
That's Brother Man.
Dictator of Discipline. I looked real quick. I think it looks like he republished it in 2008.
I think he did.
Right. Like there's one.
And he started to put out it actually was a new book. What?
You know how you just put it in Amazon and it pops up? So I was about to give the brother some free advertising and say, go get it. No. And it says volume 1 because it's a few issues, but then it says that the paperback is on sale for $255.
Yeah, because it's out of print.
Because it's out of print.
Right.
Yeah.
The time to catch that was maybe about 2 or 3 years ago when he was really pushing it and he was going to like all the different conventions.
Right. Because it looks like this came out in 2009.
Yeah.
Oof, yikes.
Yeah. I actually had an interview. I did an interview for the Tribbles. I wasn't able to get Dawood, but I was able to sit down with his brother, Guy Sims.
Okay.
Very cool interview.
Okay.
Very dope interview.
I've had an ongoing conversation over the past 2 months with a friend of mine about Sunman.
Oh, okay.
So Sunman, for those of you who don't remember, was like an equivalent of He-Man that came out in the 80s. And he was black and very sort of he was very Afrocentric. And you had to buy him from the back of Ebony and order it. And for a minute they were in the stores.
Did they ever make it to the stores?
Well, remember they made it to the stores and Mattel squeezed them out.
That's right.
Because Mattel went to the factory. Because I mean, the mold looked like a He-Man mold. And the back and forth between the Sunman people and Mattel was, this is an actual character. This isn't just a knockoff of He-Man. And I think Mattel didn't want to look like they were squeezing out the little black toy maker. So instead, they went to the factory and leaned on the factory to stop making them.
Wow.
But same thing, like just sort of periodically over the years, I've tried to find a Sunman action figure.
Yeah, I was going to ask because you have a historic action figure collection.
Sunman is my grail right now. My original grail was the Mego Falcon. Boxed, which I have one of those, and now I'm sort of in the mark. But Sunman they're like $300-400, which, trying to sell that. Hey, I'm going to spend $400 on an action figure.
Not going to go over.
Right. That's not. We call that a non-starter. But it is interesting how those 80s artifacts, because they were so rare, and now many of us are old enough to collect.
Yes.
And other people collect our stuff as usual. The prices rise. So yeah, I'll add Brother Man to, or at least this, because I think I might have these issues. Like, I know I have 1 or 2 issues of Brother Man.
You may have it already.
Yeah. So
you might be good.
Right.
I mean, I think if I remember when they put it back out, it was definitely like on better paper.
Right. Well, remember, it was weird because, like you said, it was oversized, so you couldn't put it with your other stuff. Like, you couldn't fit it in your box.
No, it would just be laying on top of the box.
It would be laying on top, and you couldn't box and board it.
Nope. And oversized. It wasn't like Treasury Edition. It was probably about like the size of Ebony.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the Treasury. Okay, we're going to come back up because the Treasury editions. Remember, you could order the special bags and boards for the Treasury editions.
You're right.
Yeah, it was just a weird shape.
Yeah.
But yes, that was Brother Man.
That was Brother Man.
Brother Man
that was featured in the film that we are about to review.
Yes, sir.
Drop Squad.
All right.
But not before we get into a little bit that we like to call trailer talk.
All right. You got anything on your mind?
I did, actually. There was something. Oh, I kind of wanted to put this on the show, but we don't have to necessarily. It's fine. We don't have to put it on the show. Did you see? And I know you saw because Toya sent us the tweet from the Nostalgia Queen. That she actually put it out there. Is there, to men, is there a song by a woman that you find yourself singing
as a man?
Yes, just singing your hearts out.
Right.
And it was interesting and looking at a bunch of the replies, because a lot of guys were replying, that more than a few guys were with me in that they find themselves singing Keisha Cole. And especially Keisha Cole's Love.
Okay.
I was like, wow. I thought, sometimes, you think you're the only one.
Right.
Not the only one.
You're not the only one.
And if I remember correctly, when we had this discussion, you don't sing anything.
That's not true.
But not any song by a woman.
No. I enjoy I'm Every Woman.
You do? You sing it?
It's all in me.
Do you find yourself singing it?
How can you not?
I don't. That's not an answer, man.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
Okay.
Like, Shaka Khan comes in. Like, of course, you want to be a part of it.
Yeah. Well, Shaka Khan.
Right. So.
Shoo. Shaka Khan.
Yeah.
Shaka Khan.
Yeah. But yes, we did indeed see that.
Okay. All right. Is there any
That's what you want to talk about again?
Well, I remember wanting to touch on that. And then there was something else. I mean, this is just trailer talk right now.
Yeah.
Oh, so I was talking to my friend Summer.
Yes.
Who does a podcast, Ladies Love Hip Hop.
Yes.
And she's talking about trying to get she wants to almost get like this how do you call it, like a consortium or like a council.
Okay, a
together.
council. Okay.
Will
there be robes involved?
No robes. Because it's about hip hop.
Okay.
To kind of convene and to determine what are the essential criterias that go in, ranking a rapper as one of the best of all time.
Okay.
And then from there, trying to then come up with as close as you can.
Sure.
Definitively very subjective,
of course,
listing of the best rappers.
Okay.
Of all time.
An age-old exercise.
Yeah. All right. Fun little thing people like to do. But as we were talking about it, we got on the idea of women rappers,
Okay.
or rappers who don't identify as men.
Okay.
And we started thinking like, okay, if you were a guy, I think like if you ask the average guy who is the greatest female rapper,
right?
Well, no, let's put it this way: if you ask the average guy who's the greatest, like the 20 greatest rappers,
yes.
If there is any woman that guys will mention,
right,
it most likely is going to be Queen Latifah,
right, or Light. Yeah.
Well, so here's the thing, because we argued this about Light, because I think Latifah, because of the diversity of her career and the longevity of her prominence, like she's way bigger star. She's a bigger star than most rappers.
Right, but we just talking about hip hop though. We just talking about as MCs.
But I'm just saying,
right,
to that point. Light, I think, unfortunately now in 2021 gets lost in the memory because she definitely, like, her heyday probably stopped in the mid to late 90s, while Latifah,
right, and mid is in that's
being generous,
right? You saying late 90s? I would like, when did Georgie Porgy come out?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Right. Whereas Latifah has, expanded from name recognition alone.
Right.
So I think like Light gets,
and again,
forgotten.
just straight lyricism. Like you think about Latifah on something like the "I Want to Be Down" remix, where she is by my estimation the best one on the remix.
Right.
And I love the fact that I always think of Latifah like LL. Where don't let all these movies and TV shows and all, don't let this fool you.
True.
Like, I'm an MC, for real MC.
True.
And when it's time, I can come out my MC bag.
Right.
So I'm agreeing with you, I think.
No, I'm agreeing.
Yeah.
We were just wondering if there was anyone else that might come to mind. You said Light.
Look, it's Light. It's Latifah. It's Lil' Kim. Once you list them three,
I think
then you gotta start bringing in Lauryn Hill.
I think Lauryn Hill's in the conversation. I don't think she ranks as high because at some point you have to look at how much product they put out.
Sure. How much?
I think you have to put Nicki Minaj in there in the conversation.
I think they get in the conversation just because it's not a whole, like, if you want to have a conversation, like, it's a whole bunch of people that start coming in. But yeah, look, man,
I think she's
now you've turned me into an old man. Like, none of these MCs. Like, Nicki Minaj is very much part of this generation of MCs that the best of them is okay. Like, the very best of these MCs could have been one of the Fushnikins.
The best of what? Like, what time period are you talking about?
From 2004, 2005, or like, I really am talking damn near 20 years.
Really? I mean, that's Kanye.
Kanye West could have been a Fushnikin. Like, if Kanye West was a Fushnikin, I'm Khan Fu, blah, 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 blah. And you would have been like, oh, you know what? He's all right. Like, he's all right. Like, he couldn't have been in Leaders of the New School. He couldn't have been in KMD. Like, you ain't even got to get to Gangstar in Tribe. And, like, you ain't even got to go that far.
Okay.
Like, these people could have been, like, in one of the UMCs.
Wow.
Like, I got a lyric on Blue Cheese.
That's
blase, blue cheese. They do the little flute. And you're like, wow, that's,
now you're being disrespectful. UMCs.
Am I lying?
I don't know about,
like, he couldn't have been in Black Moon. He could not have been in Black Moon.
See, outside of large, okay, maybe yeah, he could have been in Black Moon. I'll give you that.
I'm talking again. I'm not even getting to the crew. Like I ain't even mentioning EPMD.
Well, no, we're not even talking about
I'm talking about the actual wall.
Right.
Of you get to make music in the 90s. You get to be a 90s dude.
Okay.
Like Nicki Minaj couldn't have been on Peach Fuzz. She don't have a flow.
Oh, I think I disagree with
Look,
I disagree with you
I will say this. There's certainly some Nicki Minaj I ain't heard. Because I'm not familiar with the entire catalog of Nicki Minaj. But from what I have heard,
he's going back 2004 when Jean Grey come out. Jean Grey could get with a lot of these people.
Jean Grey is an outlier. Yes, Jean Grey could. Jean Grey is an outlier. But I'm talking about, like, you talking about some people who are on the radio and have careers and do all this other stuff. Like, can't none of them spit? Can't none of these kids really spit?
Mm-hmm.
Like, not for real. Like, I like Kendrick. I like J. Cole. Like, they seem like nice young men. But come on, man. I mean, what they gonna do with Live at the Barbecue? Like, what they gonna do live at the barbecue?
Now you setting them up against Nas. I mean, okay.
What they gonna do with the Flavor in Your Ear remix? What they gonna do with the Flavor in Your Ear remix?
Okay, the Flavor in Your Ear remix. There's a couple of guys that could
who
could get on there.
Who?
Let's see. You know what? You're not gonna like this. I can hear Lil Wayne on there. I can hear Wayne on there. I can hear. I hate to admit it. There's sometimes Wayne's flow.
Even if I grant you Lil Wayne, and I will say this, I think there's an argument to be made for Lil Wayne, but Lil Wayne proves my point. Lil Wayne is from that era.
I mean, yeah, like, but he was a baby then.
But he's still like that's his pedigree. Like that's where he starts. That's where he does his thing.
All right, fair enough.
You know, like T.I.
T.I.'s from like
late
90s.
Like
too.
But like
T.I. like T.I.
Right, but you know the rest of these people, they
talking about women rappers, Micheaux, Miss Makeba.
Hey, Miss Makeba,
and a couple other people.
We need to start doing a movie because we'll just sit here and talk about like now that you've made me bring up my Fushnikins wall, which is actually my it's the Fushnikins wall. Like, could you be up there with Shaq Fu? Like where you go, oh wow, well they're better than Shaq Fu. Like they're better than Shaquille O'Neal.
Okay, all right. But Miss Makeba brings up as far as the women rappers.
Okay,
Missy Elliott. Here's my Missy Elliott argument for not placing her there.
Okay, because I think she's better than Nicki Minaj.
Perhaps.
Okay.
My argument for not placing Missy Elliott there is because I don't think that Missy Elliott puts herself out there as an MC first.
Okay.
I think, and I maybe singer, maybe I honestly feel she puts herself out there as a producer first, and then an entertainer. Like she falls in line with, to me, like maybe someone like a Kanye and a Puff. Like they're so ubiquitous in so many with so many under so many hats that.
I agree with you, but she's actually a good MC though. Like I understand everything you're saying. Like I wouldn't say I think Kanye is an okay MC at his best.
Right.
And I think Puffy is clearly the dude who's just in charge.
Right.
But I would put like when I think about the producer who also raps and is like, you know what, they're not bad. Like I think she's like I always think of Pete Rock.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, and I'm not even sure I've listened to a full Missy Elliott album.
Right. I mean, the production is the star.
But so what I was going to say, does she rap on most of that? Or does she kind of like singing?
No, she got a flow.
Okay, so you would say she would definitely, as far as her on the song, she's more rapping than singing.
I would pick her over Nicki Minaj every day. And
well, no,
twice
I
on
would
Sunday.
too.
Yeah.
I would
No. In this conversation about female MCs, like
if she's in the conversation,
right,
I'm taking her over.
Right, we're not talking about your production. Yes. We're not talking about all this other stuff. Your clothing line. We're not talking about every time somebody want to talk about Jay-Z, I got to hear about him being married to Beyonce. Like we talking about MC.
Right.
Here's a mic.
Right. No.
Somebody get a soul clap.
All right.
Surround them in a cipher. Pass the mic.
Do you got any bars, Vince?
I don't.
No.
I don't. That was that and DJing. There were two things that like it was a step too far. I'd have failed out of school.
Did you ever were you ever tempted? Did you try?
Of course. I was surrounded by MCs. Of course I was.
Your boys are MCs?
I got a whole crew of MC boys.
Wait a minute. Your crew?
No, not that crew.
I'm about to say.
Right. I got
the crew that I've met.
I'm a man with many crews.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, if I only met one crew.
Right. Well, that's the last crew standing.
Gotcha.
But yeah, when I was a younger man, I had a crew.
Yes.
And they were all, but
all right.
It's not my ministry.
Let's get to our review.
I want to be a DJ real bad.
A DJ?
My roommate was a DJ, and I actually took a couple of lessons, but that really would have been too far. I literally stopped doing it because I said I'm gonna fool around and fail out of college.
Wow.
Like I got too much going on, and this is because like we were going to New York and digging and in the record stores.
You was going hard.
And it was like I can't do this. It's too much.
Wow.
I'm gonna fool around and fail out of college.
I always wanted to be a singer,
right?
But I couldn't sing, so that's why I rapped.
Right.
But I rapped just because I couldn't sing, which is why my boys, my crew, my rap crew, always said all you rap about is food and women or comparing women to food.
Women
and I was like, because
I really just want to sing, right?
And that's all I really want to do.
My greatest nightmare between the ages of 17 and 23 was that something was going to happen and I was either going to fail out of college or my parents were going to pull the plug and say, all right, yeah, just come on home. And in my childhood room that I shared with Damon, our beds, had doubles and our beds were in an L.
Okay.
So our beds were in an L, and then there was there's a dresser directly across from my bed, and my brother had cut out, it's still there, my brother had cut out a picture from Word Up magazine of Big Daddy Kane.
Okay.
And Big Daddy Kane's like on the steps looking straight at the camera, all Big Daddy Kane, he got his good, and Scoop and Scrap, the dancers are behind him dancing, and like one of them is up in the air. And so there's a shot of that. And my greatest nightmare until I actually graduated and moved was that I was going to have to move back home, and I'd be laying in my bed looking at Big Daddy Kane, and Big Daddy Kane would be looking at me, and I'd be looking at Big Daddy Kane because I had messed up, and now I'm back home. My parents had pulled the plug. All right, that's enough of that. You're going to come back home. So that Word Up picture of Big Daddy Kane haunted my dreams.
That was the fuel.
That
kept you motivated.
Look, keep my grades up just high enough. MCs, thieves, and criminals. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Like, y'all go be criminals. I'm going to stay here.
So
because if we get caught, my parents pulling the plug and I'm going to have to go back to Woodlawn.
So if you ever run into Big Daddy Kane, are you just gonna walk up to him and like, how you like me now?
Well, it's got to be Kane from 1987 with that big ridiculous chain.
That's true. I don't think he rocks that.
Right. No, and he had the hot top with like the little razor. Oh, I studied that. I studied that poster because I wasn't gonna get sent back home.
Only Kane could rock that. Only King could rock that, man. Everybody else tried. It just didn't look right. It just didn't look right.
So no, I didn't. I knew my limitations.
Got you.
All right.
Now. Let's get into our review of Drop Squad.
All right.
Drop Squad, a political satire about an underground militant group that kidnaps African Americans who have sold out their race. This film from 1994 was directed by David C. Johnson from a screenplay by Johnson and Butch Robinson and stars Eriq LaSalle, Vondie Curtis-Hall, Ving Rhames, and Cassie Lemons, as well as features a quick cameo by its executive producer, Spike Lee. Drop Squad is Vincent's selection for tonight's stop on the Micheaux mission. Vincent, what do you have to say about Drop Squad?
Drop Squad is a film that I remember having great affection for.
Really?
When it came out. Like I really enjoyed Drop Squad in 1994 when it premiered. And just sort of going into it, I could see why I liked it so much. Just looking at sort of the bones of it, if you will. First and foremost, it is a film that has what I used to call a great number of Mission College alumni. And what I mean by that, Mission College was the fictional college in School Days. And I really liked the cast of School Days. And there were a series of films that came out in the decade after School Days where you could spot the actor that was in School Days. And certainly in here, we talked about Cassie Lemons. You have Leonard Thomas as XB, Eric Payne as Stokely, Michael Ralph. So you have that part of it. Along with that, you have Paula Kelly shows up for a second.
Right, yeah.
Paula Kelly shows up for a second. Crystal Fox, who was on In the Heat of the Night, probably spent most of the career that we would know about on The Heat of the Night, but she's an actress that I like a lot. Vanessa Williams is in here.
Vanessa K. Williams.
I'm sorry, Vanessa.
Oh, is it?
No. I think the singer Vanessa Williams is Vanessa K.
Okay.
Right. Remember, this is Vanessa Williams. Right. Because she was so Vanessa Williams is in here, who I love a lot. Speaking of fictional Black colleges, you have two alumni from Hillman. Different World. Kim, and I just forgot Kim's name.
Oh yeah, I fucked that. I wasn't sure if that was her.
No, that's her.
Okay.
So of course now my cast just went away.
That is, as I look here,
Charnel Brown.
Right.
Charnel Brown is in here. What is his name? Because he showed up for a lot of episodes of Different World. He played a couple of different characters. I'll think of his name in a moment, but I liked him a lot too. So I like the cast. I like just the cast around, and then rounding out.
Tico Wells is probably
Tico Wells. I actually wasn't thinking of Tico Wells, but I wanted to mention Tico Wells. Tico Wells is in here for a second, and then rounding out this cast, you really have these three performances. You have Ving Rhames, who plays Garvey, who's sort of the upshot, young, up and coming member of the Drop Squad.
Right.
You have Vondie Curtis-Hall, who is just wonderful in everything he's in, who plays the man who started the Drop Squad, Rocky Severs. And then at the center, you have Eriq LaSalle as this man who his sister decides he needs to be dropped. And by dropped, he needs to be deprogrammed. Like he's a assimilationist. He is an advertising exec. He has been involved in some advertising that is perhaps offensive. And she decides he needs to be taken care of. Direction wise, this is based on a short film that David Johnson wrote called The Sessions.
Yes.
And it builds out from that. I don't think his direction is anything extraordinary, but I like pieces that I think you can see decisions that he made. Like I love there's a scene with the black execs in this cramped room.
Yeah,
that you get the sense of the claustrophobia. You get
about
the
8 of them.
They're like hamsters in a cage almost. It's a wonderful scene. You know, I'm a sucker for family reunions and family shots. So there's a wonderful scene where Eriq LaSalle's character Buford goes home, and there's a family scene, and you know all the family is together. There is an actual commercial for the gospel pack of fried chicken. That is the aforementioned, or one of the aforementioned, offensive ads.
Yes,
that is, you know, it's almost like something out of Putney Swoop. Like how is this something that exists? But it kind of exists.
Yeah,
you know, it kind of exists. During the actual sessions, I like some of the decisions that he makes with the images on the screen. There's this wonderful shot of Ving Rhames where he has red, white, and blue paint coming directly towards the camera that I like a lot. So again, I can see what really kind of got me. But I was a bit concerned going back into it because the storyline of this film is basically about policing blackness. This is a group of self-appointed people who decide that certain black people aren't being black like they should be being black.
Right.
And then they kidnap them and deprogram them. And I would like to believe that since 1994, our conversations about this type of policing blackness, whether we're talking about gatekeeping is people from the outside, but certainly this policing of blackness and who is and is not legitimately black is something that I think with the advent of something like Afropunk and our beloved blurred culture, like we've had a lot of conversations about there is no actual codified version of blackness.
That's right.
So I was concerned about that, just that plot. And you see the way that Johnson's script kind of moves initially. Like you kind of start with some real safe bets. Like the first person that gets dropped is a corrupt politician.
Yes.
Who is literally selling out black people when he gets dropped. Like he actually takes some money from a white man to sell out the black community.
Right.
So you think, all right, this Negro probably does need to get snatched up.
Right.
Next, the aforementioned Tico Wells drug dealer, Fat Money. Fat Money is out of the 90s textbook movie drug dealer.
Right.
He's actually a savage and an animal. So, all right. It's all right. Sure. I mean, sure. You can. All right. The drug dealer, grab the drug dealer up. Sure. You have a corrupt preacher. Not only do you have a corrupt preacher, but the script kind of navigates who decides that a preacher should get dropped, because it tells you that his congregation is the one who said he should get dropped.
That's right.
But then it gets a little murky. There's a Shahrazad Ali character that I thought it was interesting that she was a person that the film said needed to be dealt with by the black community. Yeah. Because for those of you who don't know, Shahrazad Ali had a book called The Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. Back in the late 80s, early 90s. It was a bit of a phenomenon. The part of it that everyone always remembers, and they reference it in the movie, is that she says that black men have to be the kings and the head of the households, and that women are basically like children that need to be led around. And much like you do with children, sometimes you have to physically discipline them.
That's right.
So that was a whole Shahrazad Ali thing that people remember about you. You know, you smack a woman open hand because she's a lady. when she needs to be disciplined. I found it noteworthy, though, because frankly, a lot of the critics of Shahrazad Ali were other black women. Like black men, it was a little bit more mixed with our reception of this strategy. So I did like the fact that she was part of the group that people said, okay, maybe they need to be dealt with. But even still, now it's getting a little murky.
Right.
And then you end with Eriq LaSalle. And I think what I liked so much about the complexity of the question of should Buford be dropped is something that is different between the short film and this. Again, this is a film that was built out of a short film. Couple of the same beats in both. I don't know if you got a chance to watch a short film or not. It's interesting, especially in contrast to this. But there's a moment in the short film where the Buford character, the drop squad, says that they have a receipt where he bought some blue contact lenses. And he's trying to wear blue contact lenses, and of course it's the universal marker of a sellout, like he's going after white women. And at one point a member of the drop squad says, you need to read The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. Have you heard of Toni Morrison? And because the Buford character in the short film is completely out of touch, like just completely, like he doesn't know who Toni Morrison is at all. So again, it's very kind of straightforward within this narrative. Like this is somebody completely detached. They change it in the feature film.
That's right.
Where they aren't, he doesn't have blue contact lenses, but at one point, one of the drop squad members says, have you heard of Toni Morrison, The Bluest Eye? You need to read this. And he has heard of her.
That's what he says. Right. I don't think he says he's read the book,
but he knows who Toni Morrison is. And I like how the film is very intentional with the fact that this Buford character is secure in his own blackness. And the markers that we use for blackness, whether rightly or wrongly, that we say, okay, well, this person is black, he hits a lot of them. He has a black girlfriend. He socializes with the other black ad execs. Much like one of my favorite versions of this character, Terry, in Soul Food. He goes home. Like nobody, like he's part of this family.
Right.
Like he's around. And even the real flashpoint of he doesn't, he's not there for his cousin Flip. Flip is looking for a job and he doesn't answer the phone call when Flip comes in for the job. I like how the script complicates it.
Yeah.
Because Flip hasn't had a steady job in 3 years. He and Flip have discussed this previously, and he told Flip, you got to go and fill out an application. I just can't go in there and tell them to give you a job. And Flip hasn't filled out the application. By the time the scene comes where Flip calls up for him at the office, we don't know if he's filled out the application or not, but we don't know.
Right.
Like all we know is what we have seen. And so ultimately, while I do think there's a very 90s aspect of this film of this is how to be black and this is not how to be black, I was pleasantly surprised by how much the film scrutinizes the idea of the drop squad itself. Who decides that you didn't, that you're going to be dropped? Who decides what is what works? Right. Frankly, because there's this whole interior debate among the drop squad about strategy.
Yeah.
And so that I ultimately landed on, I liked it. I still like the drop squad.
I didn't. I had not seen this film. I had not heard of this film. But in reading about the film, and I didn't read a lot before I watched it, but just in reading about what the movie was about, I said, "Oh, this sounds interesting. It sounds like an interesting concept." And I can see where this story would intrigue someone like Spike Lee enough to lend his expertise, his overseeing eye, and thus the imprinting of 40 Acres and a Mule
Mm-hmm.
on the work. I can see that because this is a film, this type of satire is like right in his wheelhouse, for Spike Lee. So all of that I find very intriguing. I agree with you that the cast is like almost a who's who of 90s Black Hollywood, and Vondie Curtis-Hall, Ving Rhames, really Ving Rhames, let's face it, before he becomes Ving Rhames, but he's right in the midst of that. Cassie Lemons and Eriq LaSalle, whose name is ringing out at this time, primarily because of some movie roles, but primarily because of, at the time, I believe he's either currently on or not long after leaving ER on NBC. So these are names that ring out, that along with all of the other faces, that familiar faces from Black movies over the last 10-20 years at this point. So that definitely grabs your attention. But I think that in building out this story from a short film, and mind you, I didn't see the short story. I didn't see the short film. But in building this out, I think that David C. Johnson, as the director and one of the writers, they leave a couple of important elements out that would have helped to give the movie just a hint of a more of a narrative flow. It definitely is a film that, especially in the beginning, it almost reads like, it almost reads like Hollywood Shuffle, because it's just like nothing, almost like just skits. Like, you're going to this one cell and there's a skit. You go into this another cell and there's a skit where they're literally walking the politician guy around, by a leash. And the other place, the drug dealer, they knock him out, shove him into a van, and then they tie him up with duct tape and a shoe in his mouth. In all of these skits, like, I think the tone is I understand that it's a satire. So satire does give the earmark of comedy with a little bit of a serious tone, but I don't think that David Johnson as a director or as a writer really nails the tone right. And I think it just feels mixed. Not sure whether I'm supposed to be laughing at some certain things or I'm actually supposed to be like, at some things. And the movie is not helping me make that. The movie's not making that decision for me, I don't think. And maybe the movie's doesn't have to, but I think the movie is supposed to lead you one way or the other, or should. And I don't feel like this does. I feel like you said, there's this war that's going on in the midst of, in amongst the drop squad about, we maybe need to change our ways because we're not reaching, anybody anymore. It would have been nice to maybe see products of what the old ways gave you, or at least maybe see footage of that, because you don't have anything to go against. You're saying it used to work. We don't know. We don't see any products of it. Vondie Curtis-Hall, who it's a while before, even though he's like, number one on the call sheets, is a while before he shows up in the film. And even when even once he does show up, I honestly think that he is, and he's an actor I enjoy, but I think he's a little bit sleepwalking through this film, and he doesn't show up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He's barely in the movie. Yet we're meant to be invested in this struggle and this tension that he's feeling in running the drop squad. And I don't think it reads at all. There's a scene where he goes and sees like some friend who apparently one runs a business that just got hit, had everything stolen out of the
Right.
business. How do we know? Because it looks like everybody's the windows are broken. There's nothing in the place. What type of business does he run? We don't know. We're never told. We only know that he came up. The Vondie Curtis-Hall character came up to talk to him. Didn't even know about the robbery. It's like, oh man, looks like they hit you hard. But let me bend your ear right now. Well, it seems a little inconsiderate about this tension that's going on. This guy now through the words and the conversation we learn has a connection to the past of Drop Squad. Is it ever really fleshed out? We don't know. So why should we even care about? We're not asked to care about what happened to a store because they don't do anything to really illustrate it or tell you what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't care about him because he comes in, says a couple of words, and then he's gone. He's gone from the movie. He never returns to the film at all. So I think it just would have been nice to have that as a balancing act. Without that, I have to judge what the film does give me. And honestly, a lot of this film, I was bored. I understood what they were going for. I understood, but it just did not hit home for me at all. And then honestly, having Cassie Lemons show up, I was like, Cassie Lemons, can you show this dude how to work, direct a film? Now it's 3 years from now before she does Eve's Bayou. So, I want to think that she's studying what to do and what not to do by being in this film, where she doesn't do a lot either. There's so many characters in the beginning with the councilman and the preacher, and then we spend an inordinate time with the drug dealer, as well as with Eriq LaSalle's character, before about halfway or maybe a little bit more than halfway from the film, before we really settle in on
Eriq
let's
LaSalle.
interrogate Eriq LaSalle's situation, and everybody else kind of just falls to the wayside, except the one character, the drug dealer, who were asked to be invested in his murder in the street, which happens later. And honestly, like you said, he comes off as such a jerk in this movie. I mean, one, you kind of want to feel for him because they did kidnap him off the street, but he is straight up being a jerk. He's being extremely disrespectful to Vanessa Williams. We're like, okay, but then he gets murdered in the street because he's a drug dealer, because he's living his life in the street. We know this is a story as old as time. Can be a byproduct of living that life. And we're asked to care about this because Vondie Curtis-Hall didn't get an opportunity to sit down and talk to him. And maybe he would have made a difference if he talked to him.
Right.
Well, we didn't see him talk to anybody else either. So does this mean that something's going to happen to them too? We only see him really sit down and talk to Eriq LaSalle's character near the end of the film. And to be honest, we're not even really given we're not shown that really has any effect on Eriq LaSalle's character.
It says he quits.
We're not shown.
We're not shown.
We're told it.
Sure.
At this very 70s blaxploitation freeze frame ending of the film, where Vondie Curtis-Hall's character and Ving Rhames' character walk off into the sunset. I don't know. This Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid now. I don't know. I just think it's a mixed bag of things that never come together. And I honestly was very, very, I just was not entertained at all watching this movie. And
Yeah.
it was a shame because, like I said, I think it's a great concept.
Yeah, I disagree. Because I really was invested in Buford's journey.
And small nitpick, his name is Bruford.
Bruford.
Just to make it even
Right,
more
right,
harder
Bruford.
to say.
I think I almost feel like I agree with you about the preacher and the drug dealer. And you know, like I almost wish the film would have just stayed with Buford.
Right.
Like just stayed with him. Because I really do think that this was a film whose intention was just as much about, again, those who got dropped as the philosophy of the drop squad.
Right.
To your point, I would argue that Vondie Curtis-Hall, which you see as sleepwalking, I read as weariness.
Okay.
And I think the text laid out that he's been doing this for a long time. He's got these young people under him or younger people that maybe it's time to turn the reins over to them.
Right.
I also agree, and I thought about. I mean, frankly, we're talking about what do we see work and not work. Even if you just go by the fates of everyone from the text at the end, it didn't work on any of them. Like
right.
You know, the one woman went off to teach at an Ivy League school, and then the one dude is on the run because he stole money, and so on. It really is just Bruford who has sort of a change of heart, and you know, he ends up quitting his job. And I really like that last scene with him and his sister, where he basically, you know, she says, basically, I wanted you to come back. And he says to her, I never went anywhere.
That's a good scene. Unfortunately, that's not the last scene of the movie.
It's not meant the last scene with Buford. So that, again, retroactively, you do get the sense that, I don't want to say it was like a bait and switch, but you know, the way the film comes on and they have the people at the radio, at the talk show talking about the drop squad, like you get the sense that the drop squad are supposed to be almost like a Robin Hood of the community, going and getting these people and bringing them back home. But I do think there's a through line where they are being scrutinized. And part of the problem with the drop squad in this film is that they are at this period of transition. And to your point, we, as the viewer, we are taking, it is asking us to take them at face value that the drop squad has worked in the past.
Right.
And it's sort of like the shark biting the tank at the end of Jaws. It depends on how much goodwill you have for the film, whether or not you go along with it. Okay, tanks don't explode like that. Or you say, tanks don't explode like that, and I've not really been invested the whole time. So I was invested enough, again, especially because I just think it's a really fascinating subject. And
it is. But it's not. I don't think he gets it over. I think, like, to your point, even like that tension between, you know, their old ways and their new ways, right? The film actually ends with Vondie Curtis-Hall doing like a little bit of investigative work into Bruford's past,
right,
bringing his cousin to him, and him and his cousin kind of like having a one-on-one a bit that starts to turn the tide a little bit. And that's interesting. And what's interesting about that is because it shows that perhaps The unfortunate thing is that it waits all the way to
Right
the
to
end of
the
the movie.
end. Yeah.
But it shows that perhaps what Vondie's character has been saying the whole film is the right path. If it can work if you do the footwork. He mentions how, you know, they didn't do the footwork
Right.
to find out about the story about the cousin in detail.
Right.
And once that is brought to light, then they have an inroad to Eriq LaSalle's character. That seems very cool. That seems pretty dope, especially because he does that in all the other people who have been coming at him tooth and nail throughout the whole film, you know, splashing water in his face, you know, slapping him around, getting all up in his grill. They are there to witness, oh,
right,
this is what happens. But then that is deflated by the closing scene where Vondie Curtis-Hall says to Ving Rhames, you know what? Maybe you're right. And
right.
It's your way is the right way. And I'm going to be stepping out. Well, Ving Rhames has been leading the chorus of the way that has not worked for the entire film.
Well, I think that was a callback to him being Rocky, Vondie Curtis-Hall's character, so disconnected that he again never spoke to Tico Wells' character at all. And the implication is if he had talked to him, then maybe it would have turned out different. And
right, but and that is then illustrated when he sits down with Eriq LaSalle.
But I think
Bruford,
I think him saying I need to step aside was him acknowledging I'm basically old and tired. And Garvey says, let's talk. And the last, so you know, what I inferred was that Garvey was going to try and integrate Rocky's way into his youth and vigor. Like, I'm gonna put on some red, white, and blue paint and go and talk to people in them big earrings. But again, there is a level of work that you have to do as the audience, and it either you're invested in it or you're not. I think I don't think this is a case of we're trying to decide what the color blue is. I do think this is a case of how much did you bring, how much has the film gotten you invested by the end? Because as you said, like, you do have to do a little bit of work, and either you want to do it or not. Like, either you, again, the tank done blow up when a shark bites it like that.
Right.
Either you've loved everything about Jaws the past 2 hours, so you say, F it, I'll go along with it. This is very exciting. Or you say, the shark looks fake. I don't like these white dudes sitting on the boat just talking crazy. This is boring. And then the tank don't even work like that. So there you go.
No, well, there you go. What did you think of the Gospel Pack commercial?
Again, it made me think of the best parts of Putney Swoop with the satirical commercials and with the bite tone. I actually really liked it. Like to me, you want to talk about just a pop. Like, that popped for me. Like, that was a real pop. And to my point about the complexity of Bruford's character, I love the fact that he took it home and he was proud of it. And he wanted to show his family. But he was so like he's so deep into this world, it didn't dawn on him how crazy this is.
Yeah.
So I like that. And you?
I mean, it's funny. It's a funny bit, you know. And yes, I did like that, you know, he got his comeuppance, as you will, right after it. So I thought that was kind of cool.
His cousin wanted to know, can you substitute the potatoes with coleslaw?
Yeah, because if you can, then this is a winner, man. I'm all for it.
I'm all in.
I'm all for it. Yeah. See, that was a fun, like, when he goes home.
Yeah.
Those couple of scenes I enjoyed.
Yeah.
I enjoyed. They were funny. But Yeah.
And the malt liquor ad was not far off at all from malt liquor ads.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
Right.
It's not the sad thing is you hope that on the other end of the real ads that we have all seen at nauseum in our neighborhoods, there is not a black guy that is putting it together.
But that was always the debate. I remember this in the 90s where people were sort of, who is putting this stuff together? And there was this aspect of black people working at these companies putting together the ads. And it was like I really enjoyed the debate among the black execs about the ethics of the malt liquor ad. Just of malt liquor ads. Like it was this whole argument about, oh, you can't advertise, you're advertising this poison to black people with the malt liquor. And he's like, that's who drinks 40s.
Yeah, see, but the argument wasn't that you're advertising to them, it was how you were advertising to them.
But the
lyrics of the rap song,
look,
and the imagery of the woman straddling the beer bottle.
Is it effective? Is it catchy? Does it sell?
That should not be the deciding factor all the time.
Unless,
and especially if you're a black person,
unless
you should be
you're
more
an ad exec and it's your job to sell stuff to people. You've done market research. And you Negroes like things that rhyme.
No.
And dancing.
Yeah, but you don't have to call one, as far as the rhymes, you don't have to call the woman a hoe in your commercial.
That's the music that you people like.
That doesn't mean that that's the thing. But the argument is that you don't want a black person. But see what?
This is the debate, though.
It's not a debate.
It is 100% a debate.
Yes.
It is 100. You don't like it, but it's 100. Don't act like.
No, I mean,
this is the conversations that people have been having since the 90s about 40s and hip hop and black people working at these companies. This is the exact conversation we've been having.
Being the person that put together that ad definitely means that he is the person that if the drop squad was going to drop anybody, he is the person that looked like you need to get dropped,
right,
for doing that.
So they drop him, and now he's quit, and now one of the other ad execs is doing the 40 and gospel chicken pack that they put together.
Maybe they're introducing a little bit more nuance. There's nothing wrong with
some nuance to the 40 and the gospel pack of chicken.
Well, in regards to the 40, there's nothing wrong with you. I mean, there's an argument to be made whether or not you have to have a sexy woman in your ad to sell beer, but you don't have to have the sexy woman straddling the beer bottle.
That's the step too far. Her straddling the bottle.
Well, yeah, that's phallic imagery.
Yeah, yes. And who ever heard of them using phallic imagery in advertising?
I'm just saying that it doesn't mean that you need to have it. So a black executive or any executive might say, okay, I understand where we're going for with this. Let's just come up with some different imagery
but I'm the boss, and I think this works. Why are we coming up with different imagery if this is what works?
Wow.
But you see what I'm saying now.
I see what you're saying.
Like I do think one of the things that I enjoyed about the film was that aspect of it. I know I saw so I think Donald Bogle may have said it, where he thought that maybe parts of Bamboozled
I feel
pulled from or was inspired by this. But I do think
Bamboozled handles it much better.
I mean, of course, Bamboozled handles it much better, right? I mean, my God, it's Spike Lee doing Bamboozled. Like, angry Spike Lee is the best Spike Lee. But even in Bamboozled, and this is something that if you talking about listening to old episodes, I said it when we did it the episode on Bamboozled. I think Spike Lee soft pedals the argument that this is what people like.
Right.
Like, it's offensive and we don't like it, and you could probably do something different, and everything that everyone says about this, what will the market bear? And you and I, as people who were young men in the 90s and ingested probably more 40s than we should have. I'm going to speak for myself. I won't speak for you. I don't recall one conversation among my peers where I said, I think I'm going to, I think I'm not going to enjoy the St. Ides because of the way that the advertising objectifies women. I think I'll have another 40 ounce. Maybe I'll have some OE because their ads are much more respectful of African-American women.
Speaking of that, quick aside, I think I may have shared this years ago. Back in my rapper days, I was in the studio with my boys, and we had like a bunch of guys were in the studio with us, and we were just shooting the shit, and everybody was drinking 40s, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was the early days of video camera, so we were like playing around with the video camera, and we noticed everybody had crushed their 40s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in front of the camera, everybody like just put down the empty beer bottle. St. Ides, man, comes out. OE, oh man, Miller Lite. I put mine down. White Mountain Cooler.
Yeah, that tracks. It's very on brand. It's very on brand.
And it was a 40 of White Mountain Cooler.
Yeah, that's very on brand. Look, man, I know I've said it before. I actually hated 40s.
I
hated 40s.
I don't like malt liquor.
Because it's disgusting.
Yeah. I don't mind a good beer.
Right. Yeah. Malt liquor is disgusting. I mean, it's just cheap and it got you drunk real fast.
All right.
And you get a bunch of it.
So, Vincent.
Yes.
Would you recommend that people watch Drop Squad?
I would. I would recommend that people watch Drop Squad. I think it is an example of early 90s black cinema. It's a good example of early 90s black cinema, more along the independent route. Obviously, I don't think there's any argument between us about the lack of polish, but I find that charming. And I kind of like the fact that you have all these actors kind of working with this small budget doing this thing. And again, I was really impressed on this afternoon in September of 2021 how nuanced the conversation about the concept of the Drop Squad was in 1994 that I know I completely missed in 1994, because in 1994 I was very much grab these shuffling, dancing, useless Negroes and take them in a warehouse and shove some Malcolm X down their throat. That's what they need. So I would.
Well, it may come as a surprise to you that I would recommend people watch Drop Squad.
I am surprised. Why?
Because while I myself did not enjoy the film, I do, like I said, believe that this is an interesting concept. I like the idea of the movie, right? And while I like fewer bits in it than you, to the degree that I myself don't like the film, that's me. This is one of those films that I think it really is just a matter of, does it speak to me? No. But I could see it speaking to other people. I could see people watching this film and being able to pull a lot of stuff from this film. They may think it's crazy funny. They may think it's like, ooh, this is really, really deep. Or they may be somewhere in the middle. It's like, haha,
You sound like you were just in a sword fight with some French guards of the king, and they greatly underestimated your skill with a sword. That's what that laugh sounded like. Ha! Is this the best you have? You about to jump on a table?
Not right now. So yeah, I would recommend to see people see the film. I think people might be able to pull something out of it.
Okay.
And have themselves a good time.
All right. All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our review of Drop Squad. Before we tell you what we're going to be reviewing next week, I invite you all to email us all of your thoughts, concerns, all of your ideas and what hoozles and what have yous to Micheaux Mission at gmail.com, MICHEAUXMISSION, MicheauxMission.com. 2 men, 1 podcast, every black film ever made. Go to MicheauxMission.com and hit swag where you can check out all of the cool designs that we have for your wearing pleasure by way of our good friends at T Public. The Micheaux Mission is proudly adorned on all your social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Subscribe on YouTube at Micheaux Mission, which is a proud member of The Podglomerate, curated podcast for your listening pleasure. ThePodglomerate.com. They make podcasts work. And if you really want to help our show, ladies and gentlemen, if you can't hit swag, then wherever you listen to our show, wherever you find our lovely podcast, please feel free to give us a 5-star rating and a review, because that really goes a long way to helping people find our show. We would appreciate it a great deal. Next week, Vince, it's my turn.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we are out of the summer, it is time for me to dig back into the crates.
All right.
And I like digging into the crates. I enjoy it a great deal. And I dug deep.
All right.
I went far back.
How far back?
I went back to a time when my mother was not here.
Okay.
To the year of 1935.
Oh, here we go. We go.
I knew that we are long overdue to return to the works of our namesake.
All right.
Oscar Micheaux. So we will be reviewing next week from 1935, Oscar Micheaux's Murder in Harlem.
Murder in Harlem. Hey. Stop that. I feel like that'll be in line.
Sorry. I'm sorry, Vince. I thought your keys were piano keys. They were actually just your teeth. Yes, Murder in Harlem from 1935, ladies and gentlemen, next week here on the Micheaux Mission.
All right.
Looking forward to it. Until then, please be safe. And if you haven't already, get vaccinated.
There it is.
Full stop.
The Micheaux Mission believes in science.
Yes. And we want to do live events, and we can't because you
don't even. I probably shouldn't say this on the mic. Is our stuff? Our stuff is falling apart, isn't it?
What?
Our live stuff is like our stuff is like it's
we had a couple of things planned. We
right.
Can't do them
it's
now.
Like officially dead. I would say. I guess it's officially dead.
Yeah.
I was holding out.
Yeah. Just think about what you propose we do.
Oh, that's the only thing I wanted.
I know. And the first thing I'm gonna get back is like, yeah, man. Come on, man.
Look, I'm gonna need y'all to go ahead and take care of all this because we have not had. I mean, we might as well talk about it now.
Go ahead.
We've not had a Halloween showing in what, 2 years?
2 years. 2 years. We had one all planned up. I just deleted it from our event calendar on the website. We had all planned up. I don't care. I'm gonna tell y'all. We were going to be screening a scary movie, so it's going to be a horror comedy because we wanted to just have a great time.
We're going to have a good time.
It's going
to be good to see people.
I had talked to Summer. Remember,
right?
one time she made a drink.
Yeah,
she was going to make a drink for it.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole nine, man.
Scary Movie is a great movie to watch in a crowd. Like it really was.
You know what? We're vaccinated. Maybe
we just
we just have a screening.
Just have a
I got a big TV.
Just have a big TV and watch Scary Movie.
Watch Scary Movies. Yeah. You know what? That's what we're gonna do.
That's what we're
gonna invite some friends and watch
Scary Movie. Well, that's not nice.
It's not nice.
Nice to say that we can't do it and missionaries can't come.
Well, maybe some of the maybe some local missionaries might be able to come.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, get vaccinated.
Get vaccinated.
Wash your hands.
Yes.
Wear your mask.
Yes.
6 feet.
Yes. 6 feet or more.
Or more. I'm a fan of or more.
Fuck yeah.
It's one part of the plagues that has worked out for me. I ain't never liked people up on me. So,
all right, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
Until next week, he's Vincent. I'm Len. And in parting, we say,
we'll see you when it's time to meet